Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. It is time for our monthly edition of What's New at Ancestry. This is for June 2017. For those of you who've never joined us for a What's New episode before, we're going to quickly cover some of the upcoming genealogy conferences and events that Ancestry will be in attendance at, and then we will take a quick look at some of the new content that has come online recently. Let's start with the upcoming events. First up, later this week, we have the Genealogy Jamboree. This is an annual event put on by the Southern California Genealogical Society. It is held in Burbank, California. And if you go to the URL there, genealogyjamboree.com, you can see the full schedule and other information about that conference. Now, the Thursday of this week will be DNA Day. And then the conference runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Ancestry will have a booth in the exhibit hall. If you live in or around Southern California, the exhibit hall is free, so you can come to the conference and meet with people or different vendors in the exhibit hall. Of course, the classes, there is a cost to attend those. However, Ancestry is also sponsoring again this year the live streaming of some of the conference classes. So again, if you go to genealogyjamboree.com, no matter where you are in the country or in the world, you can sign up for the live streaming events, and that is going to allow you to see one class an hour throughout the days of the conference. Again, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this week. A lot of really great things in the lineup, class-wise, if you can attend in person, and of course those live stream classes there's some pretty excellent events as well. Later in the month, this month, the Ontario Genealogical Society in Canada is holding their annual conference. That's the 16th through the 19th of June. It will be in Ottawa. I will be attending that conference and actually will be speaking. They're doing an add-on to the conference. So the conference is running over the weekend, but on Monday, we will be having a Use Ancestry Day all day, and I will be the main presenter for that, just talking about how to get the most out of your Ancestry subscription. We'll be talking about Ancestry DNA, and we will be selling DNA kits there. Now, the conference URL there is conference2017.augs.ca. So if you want to go check out the schedule for that particular conference and the events there, or if you want to register for any of the events that are going on that weekend, you can do that there. Next month, the 23rd through the 28th of July, the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies, that's IAJGS, is holding their annual conference. They move their conference around every year. This year it is in Orlando, Florida. It will be on Disney property, and they've got some great events planned. They've got a huge lineup of classes and workshops, and they usually have a computer lab and an exhibit hall. It's quite an extensive event. It runs a little bit longer than an average conference, but well worth your time if you have any Jewish ancestry or are interested in records from Eastern Europe. They've often got classes on that as well. And check out their URL, IAJGS, that's the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies, IAJGS2017.org. And then as we get toward the end of the summer, if you haven't already started planning ahead, the Federation of Genealogical Societies, that's FGS, I feel a little bit like we're doing alphabet soup this morning. FGS is holding their annual conference this year in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the URL for that is fgsconference.org. Registration for that event is open. I would strongly encourage you, if you are in or around the Pittsburgh area or can get there, the Federation of Genealogical Societies, FGS, does a great job with their annual conference every year. So these are the major conferences that are happening throughout the remainder of this year. Ancestry will be involved in each one of these events to one degree or another, and we would love to meet you. If you are in attendance, please come find us in the exhibit halls or listen to some of our speakers present about ancestry topics. However, there are local, state, and regional genealogical societies happening all over the country. There are genealogical conferences that happen all over the world. So I would strongly encourage you to do an internet search for your local genealogical society and see what kind of events they have going on in an area near you. If you've never attended a genealogy event before, it is certainly worth your time. I strongly encourage that. Okay, let's talk about new content this month. Currently, I think I've mentioned this before, Ancestry has 20 billion historical records, and we add an average of about 2 million records a day. But you'll notice this last month, we kind of blew that out of the water. 98 million records or more that have been put on the site in the last month. If you're not sure how to keep up with what is being added to the site, here is where I would recommend that you do that. If you go to Ancestry, click on search and go down to the card catalog. That's going to show you a listing of all of the databases currently available on Ancestry. Then when you get to that list, the default sort for that list is popularity. Just change that to date added. It puts everything new at the top of the list. We leave this little new tag on those databases for about 90 days. And if you hover over any one of those databases, you will see the date that Ancestry published it online. So let me just highlight some of the new collections that came online over the course of the past month. The first one is California voter registrations. Those voter registrations in that particular database run from 1900 to 1968. Now, one of the things that you should know about voter registrations is they are a great, what we call a census substitute or a census filler. Here in the United States, the census is only taken once every 10 years on the tens, so 1900, 1910, 1920, and so on. The 1940 census is the most recently available census due to privacy laws. However, voter registrations, you'll notice here, run through 1968, and they are a little bit more consistent. We have this little browse box over here so you can see exactly which counties and which years in those counties are available here in this particular database. So it's not every single year. In some cases, it looks like here in the state of California for Los Angeles County, it runs every other year, but it is a great fill-in between the census, and it can be a census substitute for the years after the federal privacy laws regarding censuses. So you use these just to see what's available, and then you can come over here and search to find your particular set of ancestors in this collection of records. There are, I think there are about 16 million of those. If we come over here, scroll down to those California voter registrations. Oh, I misspoke. There are 67 million records in this single collection of California voter registrations. Next up is the New York City Marriage Index. This is particularly exciting because I'm often doing research in New York, and it has been notoriously difficult to get access to records there for quite some time, but due to some amazing efforts, the index to the marriages is now available for New York City. This set of records, again, if I come back over here, you will see here, this particular set of records has 12.6 million records in this one collection. It is just an index, so there are images, but that is an image of the index. So it is not an image of the original marriage certificate. The purpose of the index is to let you know that a marriage exists, that the certificate was filed with New York City, and then it will have usually a certificate number so that you can order a copy of the original. Now, these marriage indexes go from 1907 all the way up through 1995. So that, again, is really exciting to have access to that particular set of records. Ancestry continues to put online state, birth, marriage, and death records. Another one that came online this month is for the state of Montana. Now, in this instance, the births and deaths were recorded by county, and then county level records were turned over to the state. So that's why you see the word county here. These records start in 1830 and they run through 2011. So if we come into that database, again, you're going to see a browse box over here. The first level of the browse box in this case has to do with the record type before we get to the location level browse. Or you can just come in here and search just like you would for anything else, to see what other records are available. These particular records are going to have parents' names where available, as well as birth, death, date, and location. A couple of million records in that particular collection. Now, we did put a whole collection of Wiltshire, England records online this month. These are for the Church of England, and they're broke out in various databases. This is just one of those databases to give you an idea, but they are Church of England records, so what you're going to see is baptisms, which often will include birth information, parents' names, and such. There are marriages and banns. That's the collection you see there on your screen. And then there are going to be burial records that will include death information, and those death records sometimes include additional information about the spouse of the deceased. These particular records start in the mid-1700s and run through 1916. They are in separate databases, so if you want to search them, be sure you're grabbing the right one. But if you just do a search in the card catalog for Wiltshire or look at the new records this month, you'll be able to see that particular set of records show up here. These were provided in association with the Wiltshire Council and the Swindon Borough Council. So you'll oftentimes see information like this on a record collection when Ancestry has an agreement with the archive that provides the records. You'll see that in the source information. So anytime you view a new database on Ancestry, I always encourage you, scroll down past that search box. You're going to see source information and you're going to see a database description. That source information will tell you where Ancestry obtained those records. That's important because if you need to go back to an original, or if you need to understand more about other kinds of records that they might hold in their collection that pertain to your family, you need to know where those records came from. Below that source information, you're going to see a database description, and that database description gives you information about the records themselves, how to use them, what's included, what's not included. Really important that anytime you start using a new database, you go read that source information and database description wherever possible. And then the last collection I just want to highlight this month has to do with the state of Washington. These are state marriage indexes, so statewide marriage indexes for the state of Washington. And you'll notice this date here, they run from 1969 through 2014. So those records are a little bit more modern than what we're used to, but for those of us who are working with DNA matches and trying to connect with some of our DNA matches, it's important to have a little bit more modern records available. Typically, every state here in the United States, this is one of the reasons I wanted to highlight this particular database, every state in the U.S. has different laws regarding privacy. So in some states, marriage records are not publicly available, and in some states, they are considered a public record. In this case, these records start in 1969, go through 2014, and there is a partner database that came along with this. It is not just the marriages index, but there is also a divorce record index as well. Divorce records are important not just for tracing name changes of women as they go through various relationships, but also in tracking movement. And divorce records very often will list the marriage date and if there were children born to that particular union. So those marriage indexes and divorce indexes for the state of Washington for the latter half of the 1900s, beginning of the 2014, really, really great records available there. Well, that is all I have prepared for you today. If you have suggestions for topics you would like to see covered, please send me an email at ask@ancestry.com. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.